Why were you trying to contact me?
You oppose the heretics, those that took the old machines as gods.
All kinds of organics fought Sovereign and his Geth allies. Why am I so interesting?
You were the most successful. You killed their god. You succeeded where others did not. Your code is superior.
Welcome to Superior Code. Huge spoilers for the movie Passengers. I'm going to go into it by detail. And as I was watching it, like, it's not good writing or good, like, dialogue, and, like, the acting's but I enjoyed it enough because I was in the mood for a cozy sci-fi. And for the most part, that's what it is, until towards the end where it gets more like the coziness goes away. So it's about this man who wakes up alone because of a computer error. It's supposed to wake him up when they're close to landing on the planet. And he's no one special, he's just a random civilian that just went on this journey. So he doesn't know how to work anything. He just notices, where's everyone else? I wasn't supposed to wake up yet, and it's gonna be years after his lifetime before they even reach the planet. So he starts to get lonely, then he ends up waking up someone else after learning a bit about them, just to see if they were to even get along, and he plays it off as if it's another error, and they're both fucked. And it's a woman, so it's like he starts to have this parasocial relationship with her as he's learning about her. So he falls in love with her before she even knows who he is. So later she finds out that he woke her up on purpose, and kind of like there's no way to like go back to sleep. So she even says it in the movie, is like, it's basically murder. So she's not going to get to enjoy the planet. So, and then later, like the captain wakes up, and they only wake up when there's like an emergency, and like the ship is about to like get destroyed or crash or whatever. I can't really remember. I watched this like months ago, but as I was watching it, I still wrote down notes of how this could have been a really fun game. Like if it was a cozy game. I was just in the mood for a cozy sci-fi world. And for the most part, for the first half of the movie, that's what it is. Until she finds out about the betrayal, then it turns more into drama, which I was fine with. I liked the drama. I just didn't care about, like, the ship being in danger and the captain waking up. So that happens, and they end up saving the ship, whatever. The captain has like some weird sickness or something, like it could happen if they wake up too early or what, or they slept that long. It's not important. The captain doesn't survive, but the two characters do, and the main guy, he's not a bad person, he just did a shitty thing. He did a selfish thing out of loneliness, and he feels bad, and he has found a way to put her back to sleep if she wants. And because he kind of like risks his life to save the ship, he obviously survives, and that's like enough for her to see, like, okay, he does feel bad. He's not smug about it or anything. And she ends up forgiving him, and they end up together. And that's the whole movie. So I liked it, but it was just, you know, it's under 2 hours or about there, and it's just not enough. I just wish it could have stayed cozy. And there is a robot character, but they're kind of just stuck behind the bar. So overall, there's only like 4 characters in the movie, and I loved that. I like the little montage of them having fun before she knows what's happening, like before she knows the truth. And I don't know. I liked the drama of it before it tries to turn into a fucking action movie. I liked the complicated feelings of like I understand her and I understand him. I understand her anger and I understand his selfish loneliness, you know? And I like that the captain was also understood both sides. So he didn't like punish him, but at the same time he sympathized with her. So I don't know, I wish it could have just stayed a drama instead of trying to be an action story. So this episode is my wish list for a sci-fi cozy story that I'm just looking for again, because I watched this months ago when I was in the mood for something cozy, and then getting out of it a little disappointed with how the movie turned out to be. And then this month, I read a book that came out March 30th, and I just finished it a day ago. So I'm in the mood again for something sci-fi cozy. And that book was Mysteries of Planet Android. And I loved the first one, Marooned on Planet Android, but the second one wasn't as cozy as I hoped it would be. Like, I wanted chill moments to enjoy its world like I got to in the first book. The first book has a good slow burn because you're getting to know like all the lore and the characters and everything. But then this second one, it's like it knows we already read the first one, so it doesn't really go into it that much, and it just jumps us right into a murder mystery, which I wasn't expecting. Like, I went into this story totally blind. Like, the author gives all of these tags of what the book is going to be about, and all I saw was Grumpy Sunshine, and I didn't even want to know that yet. I wanted to go in totally blind, so I stopped looking at her posts until I actually got the book and finished it. And yeah, because it turns into a murder mystery, the second book was frustrating the whole time because every moment is spent wondering when the killer will strike next. So, and then like the sex scenes were more scientific. Like, the characters were just doing it for science. Like, in the first one, the androids lost their memory. And how this one android gets his memory back is, like, every time he has sex. So it's a sexy, erotic story. But in this one, because of that, this is a different type of android with a different personality. So she's more of, like, practical. And then by the end, she turns emotional, but at first it's just practical. So, like, not only are the sex scenes not as sexy as the first one, but, like, the non-sexual scenes aren't as cozy as the first one, because it's spent just trying to find the murderer and, like, who the murderer even is, and why did they do it, you know? So, if I had gone into this book expecting something like that type of tone, instead of like going into it expecting more coziness, because it does start out with like the characters eating around a table and like being in the kitchen and cooking for the characters, and then later they're at like a campfire and they're in the forest and talking. So it started off really promising and good, and I was into it, and I would have been fine with the sex scenes being more practical because they're androids. I actually liked that. I was excited for like, ooh, okay, so this is gonna be more practical and like more rougher sex. But then like that combined with, oh, now it's a murder mystery. So like, I know and I agree with the saying that the art is for the artist, not for the consumer. But because I love the first one so much, I'm allowed to voice some of my disappointments. But I also know that if I were to read this book with a different mood, I would like it. And I still am I did like some moments, but they're mostly in the beginning and then at the very end. I didn't really like the middle so much. So I am really looking forward to the third book, because I think it's a trilogy, I can't remember, but it says to be continued. So I am looking forward to that. I just wish there were more cozy moments, and like the first one had, and there just weren't. And for the movie, I enjoyed it a lot more because the first chunk of it, let's say 30 to 40 minutes, it is cozy until she finds out that she was betrayed. Then it changes. But I did love at the end, like how the movie ends, when it's them using the ship fully to however they want to use it, and took advantage of the company ship and everything it had to offer, since they weren't going to be alive long enough to even make it to a planet. And when like the crew and the higher ups start waking up, they see that like everything's kind of not a mess, but like lived in, and like you could tell they kind of used wood to make like a little cabin and everything, and they let the plants and soil go free in certain areas to make it feel more like nature was in there. So it looks like a mess, but you could tell it wasn't out of like being disrespectful. It was more of like they wanted to enjoy life and they missed dirt and nature and trees, so they let the green, like they let plants grow wildly instead of keeping it contained, you know. So I really loved how the movie ended. We just didn't get to see that part, and I just wish like the chunk of the movie that was action was taken out of it, and we got to slowly see them building their home, you know. I really would love a game like this, and I am thinking of like if a AAA company made a cozy game with no danger. Like the most uncozy thing that happens is more drama of arguments with characters or something, but other than that, I truly want just a walking simulator, you know? I want a Life is Strange game where we get to just walk around, and like that type of graphics, or like The Last of Us graphics, but you just walk around, there's nothing to like fight or kill or whatever. Or if it was a first person, just Alien Isolation graphics, but you just walk around, there's no danger, you know? Maybe Alien Isolation is a better comparison since it's sci-fi and you're on a huge spaceship. But like, imagine that, but like it doesn't look spooky, you know? And it's just characters living on the ship. Characters that don't have to worry about going to work to pay off their debt, their supplies, their bills. They could just enjoy their life. Like all the food, drinks, clothes, entertainment, technology, and nice rooms. All of those things that are made just for the richer class that you could now use because you're not being policed. You know, there's no one there to be like, hey, you can't afford that. Hey, you can't use that. That's not for you. That would be a dream. And that's exactly what they do in the movie. Like in the movie, there are different qualities of like meal plans and like bedrooms and stuff that they end up just breaking into, because it's like, why should we use the cheaper options if we don't have to? We're gonna be awake the whole time. It's gonna be a waste, you know? At least when everyone else wakes up, they could just go on a planet, you know, and still be rich. So because they don't get to like ever see the planet or be outside or like meet strangers and new friends and connect with people anymore, they get like, why not just live the life of like without authority and bills, and like go into restricted areas where the rich people get to go, and just make it feel as heaven as possible, since you're still missing out on other stuff, you know? So it could be seen what they're doing as selfish and wrong, but they're missing out on, they're in a prison, they might as well make it as comfortable as possible. And if it wasn't for that computer error, they would never get to have this experience. Like, this would be a dream for people who didn't care to go touch grass ever again. People like me. Like, if I could choose to live in luxury in a space station, something that, like, even living here, I'm never going to experience, like, some of the high-end foods and clothing and, like, technology and hotel rooms or whatever that rich people get to step inside of and live in, you know? So the closest thing I'll get to that would be in a video game, you know? And I think I would love that trade-off. Like, I would be fine with the simulation of being outside and camping, because I hate bugs, bees, and spiders. I don't care about any of that. And then, like, the simulation of camping out at night and not wondering when a random stranger's gonna come along and, like, try to steal my stuff or kill me, you know? So there's pros and cons. Like, obviously I'll always be homesick, but I think it would be a good trade-off of, like, they're in constant safety, you know? Like, they have, like, the medical area where it's, like, automated, so anything they have a problem with, any type of injury or whatever, it's like, it could be taken care of. Because it's different from, like, if we live now on Earth and suddenly everyone just disappears, I would still feel worried, because no doctors. There's no automated doctor like there is in this sci-fi world, you know? So if anything happens to me that's, like, unhealthy, I'm fucked, if it's something major. But in this space station, like, they're gonna have their own little doctor, robotic doctor, so it's heaven. They literally have everything they could think of, imagination-wise, it's there. The thing they're missing out on is the rest of humanity. And I want to experience that as a game. I really want to experience that as a game. Like, I'm sick and tired of, like, sci-fi games needing us to have a gun, you know? There's enough of them. Like, we don't have to stop making them, but how about, as we're making sci-fi games with guns, why don't we just make sci-fi games alongside those where you don't need guns, and it's just a palate cleanse of, like, violent games. Like, I love violent games, but there are times where I'm like, oh, I just feel like replaying Life is Strange, I guess, you know? There's not much to choose from when it comes to cozy games when you're basically only interested in AAA, you know? Like, I have to get into the mood of liking an indie game, and I know you know what I mean. It's not like, what's it called? Like an elitist of, like, ugh, I'm not gonna play an indie game. Like, I love indie games, but I just want the quality of a AAA, and I wish bigger companies gave a fuck about making more slice of life games, you know? Like, when Fallout 4 was announced, the FemFreak account tweeted something like, it would be great if, like, you can, like, there's a customizable thing, or the build mode in Fallout 4. And that tweet was something like, it would be great if you can, like, create stuff that didn't have to kill other things, and everyone, like, mostly men, were just shitting on that tweet saying, oh, shut the fuck up, it's a video game, do you not know what that is? Like, Fallout is all about murder and, like, all of that. And it's like, I get both sides. I understand sticking up for the game of, like, how is that a criticism? It's the fourth, like, it's called Fallout 4, meaning it's already an established series. It would be so fucking weird if it just did a whole, like, it'd be really weird if it changed its brand into a slice of life, you know, into a non-violent game. But on the other hand, it wasn't really, like, they're allowed to say what the fuck they want. Like, everybody else says these little nitpicks about Fallout 4 and they don't get shit on, but because this is like a group of women or a group of feminists that are talking about it, it's like angry gamer men or sexist players just feel the need to shit on it when it's like, you could just ignore the tweet. I did. At the time, I was conflicted, where it's like I understand the feeling, because I'm feeling it right now, of wanting more huge companies to concentrate on non-violent video games, because there is a market for it. Like, look at Nintendo. You know, like, just imagine more, like, chill Animal Crossing and Pokemon games, but instead of it being cartoonish, it could look more realistic, like the Fallout series, The Last of Us, Life is Strange, you know? Like, it could look like that instead of having to be cartoony and, like, appealing to children. Like, there are adults who want chill games. Like, I love Doom and Resident Evil, but not all the time, you know? Like, there are times where I just want to chill and be sucked into a world, you know? It's the reason where I can't really get into romance novels. So when I found Marooned on Planet Android, I was so shocked and happy that I liked it. I liked this romantic novel, because usually I don't, because of all the cliches I'm just not really into, but that one caught me at a time where I was just in the mood for it, and it happened to be better written than most other romance novels that I have read. So that's how it is with cozy games as well. There's, like, the tag and the rise of cozy games and cozy books have become popular, that it's become so annoying, because most just seem to be made just for a quick, like, to get money quickly, you know? It just seems like there's no soul in it at all. They're just trying to get popular and fit into the aesthetic to just sell their games and sell their books. They don't actually care enough. So I want a cozy game to be made where they actually cared about it, you know, and it's not just family friendly. It doesn't need to be family friendly for it to be cozy. There could be sex scenes, there could be adult language and profanity and all that. Just don't put in danger, and don't put in complete fucking assholes into your game, you know? So, I don't know. Like, there's a difference between a game being problematic and characters being problematic. You can have problematic characters, but make it to where there's paths to kind of deal with those characters and have them have character growth. But if they're just there just because it's like, you need someone to hate, there has to be a bully in this. Like, don't put in lazy writing. That's when it feels very shallow and like, oh, we're meant to hate this character. So, I don't know. I get the FemFreak tweet at the time, where it's like, it would be nice if a game was made exactly like Fallout 4, but there was no violence. It would be refreshing, you know? Like, I love Fallout 4, but once I turn off Fallout 4, it would be nice to turn on a different game like Fallout 4 without the stress and needing to have a gun, you know? That's all it was saying, and they didn't even defend themselves or anything. It was just Twitter and men on Twitter going apeshit over a woman's opinion. So I think it would be important for cozy games to have romantic options, just like they have options to which characters are your best friends. Like in the game Lost Records, you can choose who's your best friend and who is more than a friend. Because there's not enough moments in the game to make them all equally on the same level of friendship, it gives the game replay value. So when you replay it, you pick a different set of characters that you don't have time for in your first playthrough. And I think that's a good way to do it. Versus there have been other indie games where it lets you have all the time in the world to get to know every single character, and it kind of ruins the need to replay it, because it's like, why? I've already played the whole game. I don't need to go back and learn about this character or that one. So I really like it when it forces you to choose who to spend your time with, and it's more realistic, because when I would visit my home state, I'd only get to stay for like a week or two, and I would have to choose how many days I'm going to spend with each friend, each family member, because I can't spend them all at once with everyone because they don't all hang out and know each other. So I like that, and like it's realistic in a game if that were to happen, you know, where it's like you don't have enough time to spend time with every single character. You're gonna have to do it on the next playthrough, you know, or the next visit, quote unquote, you know, like when you visit the game again, it's a different character that you're spending time with. It reminds me of this old Inuyasha game for the PS2. You choose one character each resting point or something like that, or a hangout point, to connect with the character, and at the end of the game, the character you hung out with the most becomes your best friend that playthrough. So it was just worth to always pick one character so you could get to see what you do hanging out with them each time. So that game I replayed so many times just to hang out with each character, and it was so fun. So I think it's a really, really good idea for games to give you limits like that to make you keep coming back and seeing different dialogues and stuff like that. So instead of like how the movie is just 2 people and a robot, maybe the game could be more like 5 people and an AI that can like kind of like Edie and Sam in Mass Effect, where they're in the ship or they're everywhere, but they could talk to you through like comms from anywhere. You just say their name and they can hear you. Versus like in the movie, it's just a robot and the characters have to walk towards the robot's location. So instead of having the game make us go and find them, it would just be easier, you know, to just talk to them anywhere. And it would feel more sci-fi that way. Because the biggest complaint, well, not the biggest, but for me, what takes me out of Mass Effect Andromeda is the fact that you can't get messages, calls, or emails anytime you want. You have to go to your computer to look at it. And I know that's like a game mechanic, but it really does break the immersion of you're in a sci-fi world where it's like, why can't she get these calls anywhere she wants? Why do I have to go to my my room computer. It's just... So that's how it would feel like if you're in like this space station and you always have to go to the bar and talk to the robot. Why can't you just speak out loud and the ship AI get to hear you? So I still would like if the game had the AI have a robot body, so that like that could be a character for you to connect with and be best friends with, and it being like a romantic option. And I think I speak for every gamer where I say we want fade to black type of sex scenes in games, because so far there has not been a sex scene that actually looked good. They always look awkward or funny. Never good. So just make them fade to black. But it's the bonding over the banter that most players love about romance in games anyways, not the sex scenes. It's a plus, but it's not the main reason why people fall in love with characters. So having romantic options, like, and like a best friend option, which I think is really missing in the video game world, so I really love that Lost Records decided to put that in. The fun of becoming close to your companions is in the banter. And when it evolves into flirting, that's even more exciting. So I think that really would amplify the game a lot more, to where most people would find cozy games boring, but maybe they'll stay for like the companionship, and then it could be like a gateway to liking cozy games. Because there are a lot of cozy games that don't have romantic options. So that could be what's missing to get people even interested. Because then there's also like dating sim games where it's like that's all it's about. There's no real coziness in it. It's just a visual novel, and you're just flirting just to date the characters. So there is a market for just that aspect of the game. So I really do think walking simulators and coziness fits hand in hand with the dating sim world of games. So it just seems weird for more bigger companies not to combine these two a lot more often, you know? Because I love Life is Strange, but there's even times where I'm like, I wish it fucking wouldn't be about some life-threatening bullshit. I wish it would just be about college. I wish it would just be about finding a place to live. I wish it would just be about coming-of-age story, like with powers. I like the supernatural of it all, but I just don't like the life-threatening with it. I like, why can't they just have powers and fuck around? Why does it always have to be linked to someone's life, you know? It really feels like these companies think they have to do that in order to make their story not boring, but I really don't think they have to. I think there really is a market for people who just want to sit down, relax, and play these type of walking simulators and just connect with people and connect with characters and stuff, and like look how huge Stardew Valley is. Like, there's a market for it. And Stardew Valley starts to get boring when it feels like there's not enough content in it. And there could be if it was by a bigger company. But you kind of just finish it too quickly, and all the little micromanaging stuff is not really... It's not a lot of people's favorite point of the game. It's more of like, once you upgrade your house to as big as it can get, and once you get married and have kids and upgrade the town as much as possible, it kind of feels like the game's done. Like, I don't really care about the farming part of it, you know? So I feel like there could have been there's a game, I forgot what it's called, but there's a game where it makes farming part of the story, so like you have to do it, and that's a good way to do it too, but like for Stardew Valley it doesn't do that. Like farming just seems optional. So I don't know, I just think combine the dating sim and combine coziness and walking simulators, put them together without any danger, and people are gonna buy that shit up. Like, we're starving for it. We're starving. And the best friend option, and if there was an option to have a rival, like in Dragon Age 2, you can choose to be like a friend with them or a rival with them, and I loved that. That was the first time I've seen a game where you could romance a character you fucking hated. It was like you would have hate sex and all of that. It was so hot, you know? I've never seen that before, ever. And if this sci-fi game had that, it would make it so exciting. Not enough to where the game wouldn't be cozy, but just enough to have that little bit of drama, you know? And it might even be possible to like avoid having an enemy or a rival if players don't want that at all. But I think it really would spice it up because I haven't seen it before since Dragon Age 2. Also, it would be more fun as a video game because the movie doesn't have good acting or dialogue. Like, the acting's okay, but it wasn't really the best. The actors worked with what they had, but I don't know, I'm very, very picky. I thought it was very, like, cringy. But I love the montage of them having fun, and I feel like if for whatever reason, like, the game had bad voice acting, we could at least go into the options and turn off the voice volume and enjoy the sounds and the music, you know, and just read the subtitles. So that's like the biggest plus to like still being able to enjoy the story in a video game, where in a movie you can't do that. If you mute one thing, you're muting the whole fucking thing. So you would think we'd have the technology already to be able to turn down music in horror movies where it's like, oh, the music's just cheap, and then see how scary it actually is without the music, or like turn down the voice volume and see how the movie is with the sound effects, the music, and just the subtitles. But we still can't do that yet, but we could do it in video games. So it's the biggest reason why video games is my favorite form of storytelling. And then also, it would be really cool if like the game added in pets and the ability to customize anywhere on the ship, like The Sims, and just color and draw on it. Some of like the deep conversations in the game and like the connections could be the characters talking about how they feel homesick from time to time, like Suvi from Mass Effect Andromeda.
Care for some tea, Ryder?
I'd love a cup.
It's a cultivar originating in Sumatra, my own personal stash. Once I run out, that'll be it for Earth tea. I keep having these thoughts. I'm never gonna taste this again. I'm never gonna see that again.
I don't want to seem harsh, but there's really no take-backsies with this one.
I know I can't do anything about it, which is why I wish my brain would behave itself. The universe is like a giant tapestry. I love following its threads, but it distracts me from the whole picture. My family was right there, but I was too occupied by the abstract to appreciate them.
This could be like the same story of Mass Effect Andromeda, but actually is about just being a pioneer, you know? Like, no running into dangerous aliens whatsoever. So it could be like characters that just wanted a fresh start in a different planet, a different galaxy or whatever. And we could have stories of like the characters that woke up due to this error and are now having to just stay awake and not get to experience the planet they wanted to go on, but just have to live on the ship. Like, we can have characters that were rich, poor, ex-convicts, military, artists, or just like people who are janitors, you know, and get to have these different diverse in characters and backgrounds and what they miss and what they don't miss. Like, is this being in the ship the upgrade or a downgrade for them? And like, players get to choose our created character having a background, like from background packs or whatever, which you would call them, like how Dragon Age games has, and like Cyberpunk 2077, you get to choose from 3 background types. So maybe one of the backgrounds, our character was a parent, and we get to choose to say that we loved being one or that we didn't love it. Maybe we can choose to wake up our kids or just let them sleep and live on the planet with society. Maybe one background is our character is wanted for stealing from the rich or just kept avoiding the law for something that isn't too dangerous, like murder or violence, but something that was wrong to do. Like, I still want to just keep this game cozy. Maybe one of the backgrounds is our character was famous for their music, either in a solo or in a band. Maybe our character has siblings, or maybe they're an only child. Maybe one of the backgrounds is that they're married, or maybe they're single. Maybe one of their backgrounds is they're with their parents on this journey, or maybe they're an orphan. You know, just different types of background that really impact and matter and that keep coming up over and over and over again, like it does in Cyberpunk and Dragon Age Origins. Because in like the newer Dragon Age games, like, your background doesn't really come up, and then sometimes in like other games like Starfield, your background doesn't really come up that much. It's just key moments. But I think Cyberpunk and Dragon Age Origins does a really good job at bringing up your experiences throughout the game constantly, especially if you're a street kid or corpo. Like the nomad kid, like, it hardly comes up, but it's still better than what the newer Dragon Age game does with your background. So, and then it was just really fun in Origins, where you can constantly talk about where you came from and your experiences. I just want that again, you know? I really, really want that to really feel like the character creation page actually mattered, because it keeps coming up constantly. I want that to, like, that's not a small thing. It shouldn't just be there for players to roleplay alone. I want the game to roleplay with me. Because I'm doing this episode because of not just the movie, but like the book I read, where the first book was about Planet Android, but also it took place on a ship until they crashed and marooned on Planet Android. Then the second book is about being on that planet. So what if this game, if it was created by a big company and it was 60 plus hour of a game, you know, like the first 30 hours is being on the ship and like connecting with characters and essentially giving you a color page, and you get to color it however you want, but at the end you still end up growing, like dying of old age, you know? And like your character dies of old age, but maybe there could be an option where the characters find a way to where they modify their sleep pods and they can go back to sleep. Like in the movie, he figures out how to do it by MacGyvering his way into like creating a specific pod that she can go to sleep if she wants, but she chooses to stay awake with him. So maybe there's something in the game towards the end where some characters can choose to go to sleep, and then you, like, no matter what, your character chooses not to. Like, so that you don't show up in the second game or the second half. So if the second half is about being on the planet, your character won't be around to get in trouble for going into restricted areas and using rich people food and like supplies and stuff and stealing essentially from the company ship, you know? So to escape being punished, your character, no matter what, chooses to stay awake and die of old age in this playground. And like, you can have like your best friend or your romantic options. You could either talk them into or talk them out of going back to sleep and staying awake with you. But either way, you would have the ship AI as your companion, and I think for the most part, players get to customize and choose how their character behaves and acts, but I think canonly they would have to be a loner and be okay with solitude. Just like in every game where you can choose your character, canonly you are the hero. You're going to continue down taking down the bad guy, right? Like in Dragon Age, no matter what, you're going to choose to take down the archdemon, right? And like in Cyberpunk, no matter what you do, you're a mercenary. Like, you kill people. No matter how good of a person you are, you chose to be a criminal, no matter what. So that's why at the end, it's Johnny is like, we're kind of shitty people. We deserve this ending, you know? So that needs to be really important for me, for it to escape trouble. I guess, like, if you really wanted to make it family friendly, you could just make it to where all the characters are so understanding, all the officials and everything, they're so understanding and they don't want to punish you. But this is my episode, this is my ideal game, and it's like, I want a cozy game in a realistic, harsh setting where you could get in trouble if the law was awake right now. So that's what I want. I don't want coziness to where the game feels like it's for babies. You know, that's how a lot of indie cozy games feels like. And that's not what I want. I want a cozy cafe game or a cooking game or a farming game that doesn't seem like it's trying to cater to both children and adult gamers. Just pick a side, okay? Like, I really, really hate that. I hate sometimes feeling like I'm playing a children's game. So, either in the second game or the second part, if this game is a really long 60 plus, 90 plus hour game, we play as a new character, and this new character lives life on the planet, and maybe they can like talk and interact with characters, like NPC characters that chose to go back to sleep, but the characters that went back to sleep did it before they showed signs of aging, so it's not so like obvious that they were awake during all of that, so they are safe from getting in trouble. But maybe when we start connecting with them, they open up to like, yeah, I was awake, and it's for the player's benefit, if it's like we really liked them, that we can still kind of enjoy their presence even with the new character. Kind of like when you play a new character in a Dragon Age game, but you see old companions from the previous games, it would have that feeling where it's like the players know who they are, but our characters don't. So we have to meet them again, but it's still so awesome to see them, you know? maybe even our new character is somehow connected to our first character, depending on what background we picked, and if we chose to have like a parent or a child or a sibling or something like that, or another family member. And for the second character, we still get a cozy game, but with more micromanaging, because this character will need to have a job to pay their bills and to live in society. But it's still like not that harsh, because it's like new and exciting, and even if you're not rich, they still are going to treat these people that were brave enough to leave their home planet to come to this new one, they're still going to treat them well. So it's like we still get to choose whatever job we want, and then we instantly get it. Like, no matter what job we have, we won't struggle to pay the bills. Like, no matter job we have, we'll be able to afford it, but we just still will not be able to enjoy the exclusive rich people shit, right? Like, they're still gonna get the nice stuff, but it doesn't mean we're getting shitty stuff. It just means there's gonna be things we won't be able to afford, like the very fancy stuff. And the job will, like, even if we love the job, if it's something cozy, like working in a flower shop or like a cute restaurant, the job is gonna take time away from just sitting around and enjoying life by hanging out with the people we love or the hobbies we love. Like, on the ship, we have all the time in the world to do whatever the fuck we want. There's no job. We can't, like break into the rich people section and just enjoy it, you know, wearing their fancy robes and stuff like that. So the second part, we just kind of like, we get to enjoy being around strangers in a town or a city, like a futuristic setting, you know, but also be around nature and have a bigger group of friends, of NPC characters to connect with, like humans and robots, and experience new art, movies, music, books coming out, which like has to be planned around our character's job and resting, you know, where it's kind of like you have to, you know, like real life, you have to balance out working, resting, and like having fun, versus our first character only had a plan around sleep, and that's it. Like, that was the only thing you'd be busy with, is sleep, you know. But because our first character got to enjoy the, like, maybe the simulations of anything they could dream of, that's something only available to rich people, and that's something our second character would never get to experience. But at the same time, there's the pros and cons, you know, for the people who love to touch grass and like love to be around strangers and whatever. That's their heaven. And then like there could be like this news going around of like about our first character and how they are on the ship while everyone else was asleep, and there could be like opinions back and forth between different characters that's like, oh, that was awesome, they did that, or like, oh, that was wrong, they shouldn't have done that, they misused and stole from the company. But like, and we get to choose if we thought what the character, our first character, did was cool or not cool, you know. And it's just like we, the players, get to choose which game or which part of the game we loved more and thought was closer to freedom. But yeah, hopefully there's a huge demand for games like this from huge companies with bigger budgets, more people who are passionate about something like this, where we don't need stakes and danger and life-threatening bullshit all the time. So, anyway, thanks for listening.